Lesson this evening is something that is most important. This is from Vetura Papke, a partial translation of the tape on I Forgive Myself, or partial translation of the tape of the CD, I Forgive Myself. This lesson today is something that is most important. And until and unless we can understand and accept it, we miss the love of God. And the lesson is, I forgive myself. I forgive myself. This is a most important act that every person must do, because whether we are consciously aware of this or not, we are always condemning ourselves. Oh, why did I say that? Why did I do this? Who on earth but me would do such a thing like that? We are constantly condemning ourselves. So we need to forgive ourselves. As one of the metaphysicians of years gone by has said, the most important thing that any man can do is to spend the half hour before retiring in forgiveness, in actual forgiveness. To forgive, first of all, yourself for anything that you have done consciously or unconsciously that has been a subjective thing, that has been a race conscious thing that you might not even be aware of, but to forgive and clear your consciousness and your mind of self-condemnation. The next important step is to forgive anyone and everyone that you have ever thought any unkind thing about, that you have ever said any unkind thing about, that you have felt a twinge of criticism or condemnation. To forgive an animal, even though you do not like it, anything and everything. And to do this every night, the last half hour before retiring. It will bring us into such awareness of truth that we will truly radiate this great love and this beauty of the spirit of the Christ within. And of course, we want to forgive anyone or anything that has happened to offend us. We definitely want to do this as well. Forgiveness is important because it removes blocks from our mind. The only reason we do not receive the goodness of God is because we ourselves, in our thinking, have placed a mental block. We refuse to let the divine love and intelligence and abundance flow through us. Now, this is usually a block of fear. We're afraid. What are we afraid of? If we truly stop and think, it's almost impossible to know what we're really afraid of, for actually, there is no fear. It's a man-made concept, and it has no part in the truth of this thing that we call God. So let's walk right boldly up to this thing called fear and look it in the face and recognize it for what it is, nothing, and claim that which we must claim, that God is the only power in the universe. Now we say, I hear you say, and I hear myself say, there's only one power. There is not the power of good and evil. There is not the power of abundance and lack. There is not the power of beauty and ugliness or health and disease. There's only one power. Now we say this, but do we believe it? And do we accept it? Until and unless we accept this as the truth, we are only giving lip service to something we would like to partake of, but we do not. What is perfect wholeness? It is love, tremendous love, not only of our fellow man, but of ourselves. It is beauty, it is joy, it is abundance. Then we must come to this point. Father, help me accept my good. Instead of our prayers forever be in asking of something to come into our experience, let our prayers be that of acceptance of that which is already here. All that the Father hath is mine, is thine. Not will be thine, not should be thine, but is thine. The gift has been made, already made. It's up to us to accept. Now, we cannot truly accept the love or the beauty or the wholeness of God if we have condemnation of self in mind, or the condemnation of our fellow man in mind. We must forgive ourselves. How does it benefit a man to grant less mercy to himself than God does? We need to know that God does not condemn us. There is no condemnation in this great love that God has for us. God does not see our so-called mistakes. God sees only the reflection of the beauty and the wholeness of itself in every man. Every man. This is why we say so many times that there is as much of Christ in the man in the gutter as there is in the man on the throne. Christ is as much in the heart of every man as in that of Jesus Christ. It is our acceptance of this, our recognition of it, our letting it flow through that is important. What merit or virtue is accrued by clinging to the guilt that God hath removed? I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more, thus saith the Lord. The Lord will not remember. And what is a sin in the first place? It's a mistake. And we're not punished for the sin, but by it. If we make a mistake, that mistake, the error, and it is that which we bring into our experience and that which causes any suffering. God does not punish us. It is this great, wonderful law, and how wonderful it is that it is true. I cannot suffer for your mistakes, and you cannot suffer for mine. We suffer only for our own mistakes. And most of these mistakes are that we do not forgive ourselves, that we are constantly condemning and criticizing and judging ourselves. We need to learn to love ourselves. Who are we? We are the Christed Son of the living God. That's who we are. We are right now the sons of God. And so we should experience and express that love for ourselves. Our sins are forgiven almost before we become aware of them, but only as we become aware that we are one to let the love flow through us as we are excused from the experience of our mistake. Dr. Holmes says that self-condemnation is always destructive and should never be indulged in by anyone. Self-condemnation is always destructive. When we say, my aching back, or my eyes, or oh, my ears, or oh, my feet, or oh, my, what are we doing? We're condemning the self, aren't we? We're condemning the self. We do not believe in the religious science putting in religious science and putting our head in the sand and saying there is no sickness and there is no pain, there is no unhappiness, there is no lack, because we know that mankind is experiencing these things. But we do say that because of this tremendous law of mind, the law of cause and effect, which is what this great statement says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. We say change your thinking and you can change your life. We do not have to continue experiencing these things. We can change from lack to abundance, from sick to health, from sickness to health. And it has been proven hundreds of thousands of times. And it is being proven daily and hourly that this law of changing our mind does in fact change our lives. But we cannot one moment say, I'm going to change my mind, I'm going to think affirmatively, I am not going to let anything enter into my thinking except love and joy and peace and beauty. And in the back of our mind constantly is the thought of, oh gosh, I sure got a pain in my shoulder or my head or my arm, or there's that Mrs. Jones. She's the worst person you've ever known. We do this to ourselves. I think it is the greatest problem that mankind has. Many people say it is so difficult to enter into the secret place of the Most High. They have difficulty in becoming still. And actually, the thing is, because we have not been able to bring our consciousness and subjective mind into alignment. One mind is saying one thing, and the subjective mind is saying something else. And here we are. We're trying to function with part of our mind going one way and part of our mind going another. Now, what must we do? We must know that with this great truth, I can transform my life by the changing of my mind, that my subjective mind is one with infinite intelligence. I of myself can do nothing, but there is a power that can and will. I know this with my conscious mind. I know it also with my subjective mind. And through this simple knowing, I bring into the alignment the subjective and the conscious mind. And then I can be still and know that there is only God. This is the actual oneness that Jesus was talking about. You are one with this. You are not yourself and God. You are not yourself and God is something else. But you are a part of this. You cannot be separated from it. And you come into the awareness of this truth. And you know that never again shall you be alone. Never again. Never again. Regardless of appearances, regardless of what you're facing right now, that you have this health, this strength, this love, this wisdom that is here within, around and through you. And as you turn your face toward it, it turns toward you and guides and directs your thinking, your speaking, your acting, your life. It's that simple, not easy, but so simple. Self-condemnation is always destructive. When you have a thought of self-condemnation, remember these words, Dr. Holmes. It is not for me to condemn myself. Of course, we don't like that we do. Of course, we're always wanting to attain a more perfect being. And this is the divine urge within the heart of every man. And we should want to. But that doesn't mean we condemn what we are thinking and saying and doing now. Just because we want to partake of a greater activity of God doesn't mean that we should condemn what we are thinking, doing, and saying now. Because we must be on this step before we rise to another. You don't, when you own a 2-story home, you don't condemn the steps that carry you up. You have need of them. You need every one of them to make it convenient for you to get from the first floor to the second floor. You need these steps. These are steps of experience, and you bless each and every one of them. If you have a headache, or a backache, or a heartache, or a lack of money ache, or whatever it is that you have today, just bless it. Turn to it and say, you know, I bless you. I bless you because you are the step that leads me to a higher step of acceptance and understanding. Don't condemn it, bless it. It's a good thing, isn't it? It's a good thing. Recognize the goodness here. You recognize here something that is teaching you something. It is giving you an understanding of something that is greater and larger in your life. And so we use it for the good. And there it is in it for us. And then we let it go. We don't carry it with us through the condemnation, through constantly thinking of it. because we rise in consciousness to a higher level of understanding, to a greater expectancy of our good. We do this only as we love ourselves. I love the self that is within me, the true, real self. I know it is beautiful and radiant and lovely and wise and good, for it is God in me. It is God in me, this self, the real self. Our lesson today, our weekly lesson, is the Father within. And I'm always delighted to think about the lesson within. Dr. Holmes today is talking about our weekly lesson, in the weekly lesson, about our threefold nature of God. He says that we find as we study our own being, we begin to deduce what the nature of God or the universal being is. Now, he is saying this because since the beginning of our knowledge of man, we've been told, almost from the beginning, to know thyself, haven't we? To know thyself. The most important thing, to know thyself. All right. Now, here's Dr. Holmes says, as we study our own being, we begin to deduce the nature of God. It is only as man really studies himself, what am I, that we can come to any concept of that which God is. Someone may say God reveals himself. Yes, we think God reveals himself to us, but only by revealing himself through us. God cannot reveal himself in any way except that which is done through us. If we study the true nature of man, we shall have delved into the real nature of God, or first cause from which man sprang. Now, as we know within ourselves who I am that which God is. Therefore, I am one with first cause. I am one with this great creative power. For this great creative power that we call God is in its creation. Therefore, we cannot be separated from it at any time, except by our thinking. So we are one with this. Dr. Holmes said if we have found that man is threefold in nature, we must deduce that God is threefold in his nature. Now here he is turning it around. We usually say that since God is threefold, man is in his image and likeness is threefold. But Dr. Holmes says that we should study and know ourselves. We know that we are threefold, and therefore we should know that which we are, that which brought us into being, must be as we are. God is the self-knowing spirit, means the divine being from whom we have always thought of and believed in, the being to whom we have prayed. But where have we prayed to this being? Most of the time, to an outside being, where we need to know that this divine being is within the heart of every man. It is a personal God as well as a universal intelligence. It is that within you that loves you, that cares for you, that protects you and guides you and directs you. And it is also that which is out here everywhere equally present, so that we can never be where this is not. If we move our thoughts back from within to the outer, we are still in the mind of God. When we bring that back into ourselves, we are still in the mind of God. We need to look at ourselves, not through these five senses, but through our awareness that God is, and that in this isness we are, not confined to what we see, to what we hear, etc. We are not confined to anything. We are part of the universe. We are part of the whole, and this universe is part of us. This is the inner teaching of the Trinity. God as self-knowing spirit means the divine being. Excuse me. God as law means the way in which spirit works. And law in this sense would be the servant of the spirit, as God is body means the manifestation of the spirit. This body then and your body is the manifestation of spirit. This is why in religious science, we do not deny the body. We do not say that it is material and therefore no good or no thing. We say the body is the manifestation of God and we bless the body. We care for it in a wisdom and an understanding, for here is the body of God. We understand the unity of all life. The unity of God and man are on all three planes. We have studied universal spirit, universal subjectivity, which is called the soul of the universe, and the universal spirit in manifestation, which is called the physical universe or the body of God. Now, in studying man, we find his body, like the physical universe, devoid of mind or intelligence, has no volition. Our body without our mind would be nothing. Therefore, we say that mind is God in us. It is the mind of man attuned to the mind of God, or that which God is, that brings into our experience our understanding of God. Therefore, man is mind, but he is also body and he is also soul. Our soul is our subjective mind. It is that in man that every thought, every word, every deed, every experience falls into and remains. It is man's memory. It is here that we, not even being aware of what's happening, find here in our subjective mind things that we really have truly never been aware of. We many times say, I wonder where that idea came from. We give an expression and we say, where on earth did that come from? Why? It came from our subjective mind. Came from something that we read, something that we heard, something that we saw, that became a part of us, and it is in our subjective mind. Now, as we spoke in the beginning of the importance of aligning our conscious and subconscious mind so that they are one and not going in opposite directions, we know that here in the subjective mind of man is everything he has need of. This is universal intelligence in man. It is everything you have need of, ever heard, ever thought, ever said, ever read, ever done. Everything you have need of is in the subjective mind. This subjective mind we speak of as the soul. And I know many times this is confusing because one thing calls it the subjective mind and another one calls it the soul, but it's actually only one. It's the same thing. So man is truly threefold. He is conscious mind, he is subjective mind, and he is superconscious mind. And the superconscious mind is the pure mind of God. Now, many times we feel that we are battling against our higher self and our lower self. Paul said, that which I would do, I do not, and that which I would not do, I do. And we're like that too. And here this conflict is really going on within our subjective mind. Because here is pure divine mind on one side of our subjective, and the other side is the conscious mind, which says, look, bud, you're not healthy. You've got aches and pains, and you got problems, and you have money problems, and you don't have enough to pay your bills, and you don't have too many friends. All of these things are constantly telling you of your lack. And over here, the still small voice, so small that we seldom hear it, is saying, thou art my beloved child, in whom I am well pleased, and all that the Father hath is thine. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Telling us constantly of the love and the gifts of God. But the clamor of this conscious mind and the clamor of the senses of Ray's conscious world is so great and so strong that few men can turn away from this and turn to the divine within. Now, as we learn to control our thinking, we learn to control our mind. And only as we control our thinking do we control our life. And we have a problem in trying to do this. So what do? We ask the Father to help us. Give me the wisdom. Give me the strength. Give me the understanding to pay no attention to these outer things, but to look always with my face turned toward thee, to let thy love and thy blessings and joy and harmony and beauty flow forth through my soul, building more stately mansions for myself. Cleanse the windows of my soul, that the radiance of the Christ light shines through, reflecting into my life and my affairs, whatever they may be, the wonder and the allness of God. Sorry. I read this morning in a little book that Charles Fillmore had written some things in. And remembering as a student of Unity, I wanted to share it with you because it is so important that we remember this. And while we've heard it many times in many ways, the simplicity of this is tremendous. Charles Fillmore said, the majority of people think the great spiritual faith is necessary to get marvelous results. But Jesus taught differently. The apostle said unto the Lord, increase our faith. And the Lord said, if you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, you would say unto this tree, be thou rooted up and planted in the sea, and it would obey you. Now here is something that each one must take into our lives and remember, that it does not take great spiritual faith to get marvelous results. It only takes a little faith, the faith the size of a grain of mustard seed. That's all. To have that much faith, to believe that you can say to this tree of fear, of doubt, of sickness, of lack, of disease, be thou removed from my being and cast into the sea, and it shall be. And it shall be. To not be afraid to speak these words of power to anything and everything in your life that does not belong. A little faith, the faith the size of a grain of mustard seed, will remove the mountains of fear, of doubt, of lack, of disease from your life. Emma Curtis Hopkins says, step boldly to the throne of grace and command it to leave. Command the fear, the doubt, the lack, and the disease to leave. Step right up when something bothers you. Look it right in the face and say, you are nothing. I have the faith of the size of a grain of mustard seed, and I claim my good right now. Because Jesus, the great teacher, said, that's all I need, faith, the size of a grain of mustard seed. I have that faith. I'm using it now to bring into my experience my good, whatever that is. I use it deliberately, definitely, specifically, and I am not afraid to speak my word and let it be. I know there is this power in the universe. I know this power is that power which I am. And I know that this power, because I have it, will bring into my experience all the good that I can use. Not only just what you have need of, but to spare and to share. Faith, a little faith, will do that for you and for me. A little faith. Let's not be afraid to use it. What happens then? As we use this little bit of faith to change one condition or situation, we build a greater faith. And then this little grain of faith becomes the giant tree. The birds of the air come and build their nests in it. And the thoughts of mankind come here because you have faith, because they recognize in you as strength. And they know that you are not afraid to say this. You are nothing. Be thou removed from my sight and cast into oblivion, knowing, believing, accepting that Jesus the Christ meant when he said, have the faith the size of a grain of mustard seed, and nothing Nothing in any way casts you out of this kingdom of joy and harmony and wholeness and loving. For by this and with this, you become that which you truly are, your heritage, the Son of the living God. Now let's close with a treatment. Let's claim that this truth, as you turn to me, I turn to you. As we turn to God, God turns to us. And as we speak this word in faith, believing, having faith the size of a grain of mustard seed, we know that though we may have little faith, that because we use this little faith, it shall grow. And we use it now to speak this word for each and every person hearing my words today. That within their mind and subjective mind, there comes complete and perfect harmony. There be a realization and an acceptance of the joy of being that which God is. That in the heart and mind and body and affairs of each one, there is no blockage of fear or doubt, but there is the free-flowing love, abundance, wholeness, peace, harmony, beauty, success of that which God is. I am that which thou art that which I am. One with our Creator, letting flow through us the allness, the wholeness, the peace, the love, the beauty, the harmony, the abundance of Almighty God, to claim with great joy and thanksgiving all that the Father hath is mine, and I give thanks for it and accept it completely to use the good for myself and my fellow man. And doing this, then we are requesting the goodness, the allness, and the wholeness of God. And as we go from here, may each one of us be aware of the radiant light of the Christ that goes before us, to guide and direct our pathway, to cleanse our minds and hearts of fear, of anything unlike this beautiful, radiant thing. Let us accept our good, our God, right now. And Father, for the privilege and opportunity of speaking these words of truth, we do give thanks. And so it is. Amen. And if these words have moved you in any way and you would like to make a donation, you are welcome to go to inner-journey.org. Website page has a donation tab on it off to the right side of the screen. Or you can text to 405-337-9739. Again, 405-337-9739. Thank you. Have a blessed evening.